Hey homie, I'm Ebony. If you've been feeling lost, confused, unrecognizable to yourself like Thanos snapped your whole existence, be cool. I got you. Turns out it's not Thanos, it's the planets. And I'm going to break down exactly which one has been causing a ruckus in your life, what's actually going on, and what to do about it. No astrology knowledge required. All right, let's get into the different ways your life might be shifting and the most likely astrological culprit for each. Not all of these experiences will apply to you, but there will be signs. Quick disclaimer, I'm using real examples here, but please note that I'm generalizing a little bit. It's hard to be specific for thousands of people who will watch this when I don't have your birth date and time available. But if you do want specifics, feel free to book a consultation with me. The link is below in the description. And this isn't super important for this video, but transits are essentially when a planet makes its rounds and impacts something in your birth chart, and therefore it impacts you or some area of your life. Okay, let's start with Saturn. Have you been carrying around a kind of exhaustion that sleep just doesn't fix? Responsibilities have been seemingly taking over your life and refusing to let up ever. Somebody close to you has gotten sick or passed away. You lost your job. Your home starts to feel a little bit dilapidated and you start to feel a little bit incapacitated. The things that were once soft or flowy start to harden and get stuck. Quite literally, you may experience gallstones, kidney stones, fibroids, blood clots, issues with teeth, nails, hair. Saturn ages you, your stuff, and the people around you. And the dry skin. No amount of shea butter or oil is sufficient. It's as though all the moisture, the love, and the life are being sucked out of your body. And it's like, dang, on top of everything else I got going on, I gotta be ashy too? Girl, pick a struggle. But if we're keeping it real, Saturn is the planet of exactly that, struggle. And that struggle, low key, can turn you into a little bit of a mole person. You used to have pep in your step, a dip on your chip, but now that's disintegrated. So you pull back. You don't want anybody to see you like this. You leave your friends' messages on read. You make any excuse to avoid stepping outside. Now, truthfully, you're too busy carrying your responsibilities and newfound burdens to have a guilt-free time in the streets anyway. And listen, your love life gets serious. Usually Saturn breaks things up. Divorces are very common with Saturn, but sometimes it locks them in. Some people get married under Saturn transits. They buy homes, they might get promoted, they take on new titles, new roles, new levels of responsibility. But whether it's a blessing or a burden, it's heavy. The fun and the lightness get replaced by the weight. Things that used to feel easy now feel like work. Now, if any of that sounds like your life right now, slow down. You are probably in a Saturn transit. Saturn is traditionally known as the author of melancholy, who restricts, denies, and takes things away. The anxiety and responsibility you feel compel you to prioritize and get your shit together. With Saturn, there is no free lunch, no overnight success. It is a long, hard slog. Saturn kills off that version of you who thought she had time, who was going to get serious eventually. But Saturn is telling you that eventually is now. I'll share some tips later on how to deal, but for now, let's move on to Uranus. Have you been waking up wanting to throw everything away? The life that you carefully crafted over the years is starting to feel like a stiletto you knew was a size too small. At the time, you said, I'm gonna buy the size 7 and just make it fit. And you did for a while, but now your feet are done. Honey, you want out of the city, out of the relationship, out of the career, out of the version of yourself that everyone expects you to be. You're ready to switch your whole style up, to lop that hair off, grow it out long, fry it, dye it, multiply it. You are ready to get the hell out of Dodge and do something completely different from what you have always done. You're waging a war on the status quo. Maybe that looks like dating outside of your race for the first time, exploring your sexuality, or maybe you're a progressive and you get yourself a MAGA bae. Yuck. Perhaps you finally become a cougar because who gonna check you, boo? Prrr. Oftentimes Uranus doesn't wait. It makes the move for you. You get laid off out of nowhere. You were playing a game of pickup basketball and you tear your Achilles. Here's looking at you, Sterling K. Brown. A storm knocks the gutters clean off your house. With Uranus, you just never know what's coming next. And that is kind of the point. Expect the unexpected. And if you're someone who typically likes stability, consistency, and order, Uranus can feel like your absolute worst nightmare. Nothing is where you left it, nothing goes according to plan, and you can't figure out which way is up. The people who knew the old you might not get you anymore. They're like, now you're just somebody that I used to know. And truthfully, it hurts, especially in a moment that's already so disruptive. Being different or ahead of your time can feel like a very lonely place. It's like you're living in 2036 and they're still in 1996. And if any of that sounds like your life right now, you may be in a Uranus transit. Uranus is the great destabilizer, the planet of sudden change that takes a steady life and shakes it loose. The lightning comes for you. But cool your jets, Captain. Here is what Uranus is actually doing. It is breaking you out of a life that has gotten too small, just like that stiletto. The chaos is making room for the person you actually are. You will find your people on the other side, your fellow weirdos. And that can be a beautiful thing, to let your freak flag fly and still have acceptance and belonging. That is Uranus shattering the mask you probably didn't even know you were wearing. It's forcing you to become unrecognizable. Psychologists actually have a name for what happens after you have dismounted from the struggle bus. They call it post-traumatic growth, or PTG. The research says people who go through really hard things tend to grow in 5 specific ways. 1, they get more grateful for being alive. 2, they get closer to the people they love. 3, they figure out how strong they actually are. 4, they start seeing possibilities they could not see before. And 5, they get more spiritual. Sound familiar? For it to actually be post-traumatic growth, your entire worldview has to have been shattered. And the growth comes not from the trauma itself, but from the cognitive work of constructing a new worldview from the rubble of the old one. And that's exactly what these planets are forcing you to do, babe. Before we get into the next 2, I want to make sure that you know that I have a free guide linked in the description below that breaks all 4 of these planets down in detail. So be sure to check that out. And now let's keep going because we still have 2 more planets that shift your identity and they do not play. Neptune is up next. With Neptune, the fog of disillusionment and disappointment creeps in slowly and then all at once. The thing you have devoted your life to, your career, your relationships, your own judgment start to dissolve before your eyes. There's an urge to escape into substances, food, shopping, gaming, sex, the ocean, anything to avoid being in your body right now. You can't trust your own instincts, and the wrong people seem to know it. Leeches attach themselves to you. Scammers and manipulators show up like somebody ordered them with same-day delivery. Addicts and struggling souls pull you into their chaos until you start examining your own. These are not people who should be in your orbit. And you know it logically, but Neptune casts a spell. Every coincidence becomes a synchronicity. 1111 permeates your world. Of course, this person is your soulmate. The universe sent them. And that's how you end up dating the tarot reader with the heart of gold who deals crystals and drugs from the same dusty backpack. The upkeep that used to matter just doesn't. Your new growth gets hella thick, you stop getting retwist, you've fallen off on your root touch-ups. You might be fighting an illness that doctors just can't quite diagnose. Or you keep getting sick because Neptune makes you porous. You drop boundaries and things just get in. You move into a neighborhood that turns out to be seedier than advertised. Maybe your house floods. And then there's the spiritual hunger. You're on a quest for a new something to hitch your wagon to. A cause, a project, a person who is a project. You're saving yourself by saving the world, which sounds kind of beautiful until you find yourself in a cult or following a guru or spiritual leader who scams you out of your 401k. So take it easy, sleazy. With Neptune, you will likely get got. So stay close to the people who will give you a gut check when your own gut fails you. But Neptune also delivers. You may find yourself in moments so cinematic that they don't even feel real. When the ego dissolves and you stop escaping, the noise quiets and something else cuts through the fog. Psychic abilities or channeling skills may surface. The urge to create takes over. Neptune brought me to YouTube to create a literal channel. Through your connection with the creator, you become a creator. Neptune erodes your earthly existence to remind you that we are spiritual beings meant to tap directly into divine consciousness. And it just might take a scam or 2 to get you there. And that brings us to the final boss of identity shifts, Pluto. Pluto will make you its full stop. You know that feeling of hanging on every single test result, praying the doctors find something, anything that points towards improvement, holding on to the hope that things will turn around, only for things to get infinitely worse in mere hours. until the machine flatlines. And then there is nothing but deafening silence. And even when someone survives, there are some things you just can't unsee. But death and medical crises are not the only way Pluto takes. Maybe the police kick down the door and your family is never the same. Everybody left behind serves that same sentence too. Maybe a judge strips you of your home in divorce court and hands custody of your children, the lives you carried, fed, raised, and loved, over to a stranger. The company that you poured your blood, sweat, and tears into shutters its doors overnight. These are moments of pure submission. Something gets ripped away and there is nothing you can do about it. You feel empty, hollow, violated, raw, not wanting to move, but knowing that you have to. Maybe someone's tried to take control of your life. A stalker, an abuser, a person so obsessed with you that it starts to dictate where you can show up and how. Or maybe you have become the obsessed one, fixated on something or someone in a way that scares even you. You're in a hellscape, like someone ransacked your life, leaving you naked and exposed. And it makes you very aware that the wound that you thought had healed never really did. Pluto has a way of exhuming repressed experiences. The childhood trauma, the abuse, the insecurities all pop up like, what up, Del? And even if you are the person who walked out the door, it felt less like a choice and more like a mandate. A voice inside your head that started as a whisper became deafening, refusing to let up until you finally did the thing. And when you did do the thing, relief and terror of what comes next hit at the same time. If any of that resonates, you're probably in a Pluto transit. Pluto corresponds with power struggles, control. It's the planet of annihilation and rebirth. Whatever you secretly believed was the thing that made you worth something, that is what Pluto eliminates. It is gone in a flash. So you're forced to ask yourself, who am I now that I'm not that? And yeah, rebirth is kind of scary because who wants to start over at your big age? Pluto doesn't always come with a clear lesson. Sometimes it just comes. But way down the road, you realize you got empowered in the exact area where you lost something. The thing Pluto took from you becomes the very thing you build your power on. So yes, Pluto makes you its until you become that. On the other side, you boss the hell up. You reclaim what was taken from you, your voice, your power, yourself. Pluto drags you into the underworld so it can deliver you to your rightful place on top. Pluto kills off everything you thought you were. No, you won't survive it. Yes, you will die, and then you are born again. Old things are passed away, all things become new. Can I get an amen? Amen. Now zip it, lock it, put it in your pocket. So here's some advice to help you through. So now you know what's happening to you. And here's what matters most about these situations. At the end of the day gotta end. These transits are cycles with a beginning and an end date. Trouble don't last always. And astrology can show you when it lifts. That is one of the things I love most about this practice. It gives you language for what you're going through and shows you the timeline so you're not just white knuckling it through the dark with no sense of when the light comes. Your chart can help you with that. And yeah, sometimes the chart tells you it's not over yet. Sorry, but there is an expiration date. Now, while you're in it, two things. One, stop fighting it. You cannot crystal and affirmation your way out of this. The only way out is through. Let yourself grieve the person that you used to be. And I know that can be especially hard for people who like to take action and are stubborn as all get out. But you just got to take the L and prepare for the next match. Two, go back to your birth chart. Because underneath everything that is being dismantled, there is something permanent. Your birth chart does not change. It says who you actually are at the root. The transit is stripping away what got built on top of that. It cannot touch the foundation, the core of who you are. You're becoming a different version of that chart. So get into your chart and remind yourself who you were before the world told you who to be. What did adults shut down in you that you've been performing the opposite of ever since? Your chart already knows the you that you're meant to be. This transit is dragging you back to her, him, or them. It's time to reimagine what your life could look like when you stop trying to fit into a shape that was never actually yours. You're losing the version of yourself that you already outgrew. So if you don't know who you are anymore, fantastic. That means it's working. If you want to know exactly which planet is doing this to you, where it's landing in your chart, and what your real core looks like underneath all of this, That's what a consultation is for. Pluto affecting your emotional life looks completely different from Pluto affecting your career or your relationships. A real conversation with someone who can actually look at your chart gives you the specifics. Link is in the description below. And if this gave you language for something that you've been sitting with, drop a like so the algorithm sends it to someone else in the same place. The planets might have you in a chokehold right now, but they always let go. Peace, homie.